Okay, welcome back again. I'm Hiro. Next we're going to talk about stances and guards. So these descriptions I'm going to give assume a right hand forward stance. If you are a left-handed fighter or a right-handed fighter fighting left-handed, then just switch any references to right and left. Most of the stances that I'm going to go over work fine, whether left foot forward or right foot forward. I stay with right foot forward most of the time just because that's what feels natural to me. I'm right-handed, but I practice with both right and left hand leads every time I do my pel work because I feel like that versatility is important. I want to be able to comfortably use both, and I'll explain why more when we get into single combat a little bit. That said, when I'm in single combat, I usually don't switch hands in the middle of the fight. I know that some fighters will, if they're start with a right hand lead and then switch to a left hand lead because it changes what shots are open to you. I personally don't do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my style. All right, so the first thing, using a middle guard with shorter weapons like this one, or if you had like a long sword length, two-handed sword. So basically you want to keep your hands in front of your waist and with your weapon pointing up at about a 45-degree angle. The angle is important. Many people, when they're in the middle guard, will keep their tip pointing forward towards the opponent's face or throat for better thrusting. The problem with that is you have to, in order to do any cuts, you have to pull back to chamber the shot before you can cut. If you keep your weapon at more of a intermediate angle, then you can cut without having to pull back first. I also tend to bobble my weapon a little bit, so if I do need to pull back to throw a shot, then I can kind of mask that movement in the normal movement of my weapon. So basically, you don't want it too low because that improves thrusting but sacrifices cutting power. You don't want it too high because that improves cutting power but sacrifices thrusting. So keeping it in the middle, about a 45-degree angle, gives you the best of both. If you're doing cut and thrust, be aware that this kind of middle guard leaves your hands a little bit more exposed compared to some other guards. In heavy combat, obviously hand hits don't matter, but in cut and thrust they do, so keep that in mind. So that's the middle guard with shorter weapons. With longer weapons, it's really difficult to keep your hands in the middle like this. So you want to twist your torso a little more and keep your hands near the side of your waist. So I've got my bottom hand near my hip, and then the front hand is out a little bit, not really far, just a little bit. And then again, you want to keep your weapon at about a 45-degree angle because that gives you the best combination of cutting and thrusting. Because of the way your hips are turned, you basically have to go with a right foot forward, or if you're using a left hand lead, then a left hand forward. You can switch legs for certain blocks or shots, but after that, you either want to switch back to right foot forward or switch your hands to match your legs. If you've got something kind of that's in between length, so in between the 4'8" that I showed before and then the 6-foot weapon, this one's 5'4", and so I tend to do kind of like the shorter weapon, but not quite. I still twist my hips a little bit more. With high guard, you want to keep, if you're in high guard, you want to keep the weapon either near your ear or over your head. I prefer the by my ear one. So the high guard is really good for cutting but lousy for thrusting. I don't stay in high guard very long because it tends to wear out my shoulder faster, but I will use it occasionally. When attacking from high guard, you want to think of casting your shots outward. So I want to cast my shots outward rather than chopping downward. So I want to cast my shots outward instead of thinking like chopping down like this. Next guard I'm going to go over is a relaxed low guard. And so that looks kind of like this. You can keep your weapon either to the side or in the front. I prefer the side one. So the point of the relaxed low guard, again, you can use either foot forward on this, is to make it look like you're relaxed and not ready to throw a shot when you actually are. So some of the things you can do from this guard is if the opponent attacks while you're in this relaxed guard, slap it away like this and then counterattack. I'll go over that more later. You can also attack straight from here. So if I wanted to throw a headshot, I would just pop my weapon straight up. So kind of like this. So from relaxed low guard, it looks like I'm not ready to fight, but I am. Okay. There are a lot of other guards and wards you can use, but those 4 are the ones that I use. If you have any comments or questions, again, leave them in the comments under this video. Thanks, and I hope to catch you again on the next video.